Rats. Those birds have almost destroyed another birdseed cake. They sure love them, but they're way more expensive than loose birdseed. They are way more expensive than loose birdseed. 10 birdseed blocks is going to set you back about $75 nowadays. Stick with me and I'll show you how you can make your own birdseed blocks at substantial savings while still maintaining all of the benefits over using loose birdseed. Start off your birdseed cakes by putting 10 cups of wild birdseed in a large mixing bowl. We buy these 20-pound bags of birdseed from Walmart. This is sold for $10.88 now. This is a 2-cup Pyrex measuring cup, so I just need to put 5 of those in there. Since this bag is 20 pounds and each of these birdseed cakes is somewhere around 2 to 2.2 pounds, this is going to yield about 9 or 10 birdseed cakes for $10. Walmart sells these birdseed cakes anywhere from $6.50 to $8.50 depending on the brand and the composition of the cake. So I would say the cakes that we're going to make today are going to be about $1 a cake compared to $6.50 to $8.50. So quite the bargain. You want to go ahead and get the birdseed ready in the mixing bowl before you mix up the wet ingredients because they set up fairly quickly, and so you're going to want to work fast and don't want to have to take the time to mix it up later on. So to make the wet ingredients, all I'm going to do is take this 1/2 cup measuring cup and I'm going to put 1/2 cup of water in a glass bowl and then another 1/2 cup of water in a microwave safe container such as this Pyrex dish. Then I'm going to go ahead and take 2 tablespoons of Knox gelatin, unflavored, and I'm just going to sprinkle it on top of the water here in the glass mixing bowl. There's 1 and 2. And just let it sit to kind of get wet. The process is called blooming the gelatin. And you just want it to sit there for about a few minutes while you prepare the other ingredients. This is the Knox without the label. This is what it looks like when you buy it. It's the most efficient way to buy it. You can also, of course, buy it in small little single tablespoon packets, but that wouldn't be nearly as efficient as what we're doing here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 1/2 cup of water that I put in this measuring cup and I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of molasses to it. And I can just drop my little measuring spoon there into the water. Clean the molasses off the rim or it's going to be brutal to open the jar later next time you go to use it. And I can just stir it up a little bit, but I'm about to put it in the microwave and heat it up. And once it's heated up, it's going to mix even better and all the molasses that's stuck to the spoon is easily just going to wash off into the water here in the bowl. In fact, it's almost done here. So now I'm just going to pop the whole thing into the microwave and let it run for about 30 seconds. While that's waiting, I'm just continuing to monitor my blooming gelatin, and it's doing fine. I'm not going to stir it up until that's done in the microwave. About that time, I'll go ahead and take the measuring spoon, tablespoon and just mix this up somewhat and then pour the hot liquid into it. Okay, this is good and warm. Measuring spoon is pretty good and clean. Now I'm just going to mix this up. It's just going to form a gel-like substance. It's not difficult to mix up. Just stir until most of the white lumps are gone. You don't want to try this with hot water for the initial mixing of the gelatin, or it'll just form hard little clumps, not hard so much as they just absolutely are not going to mix and stir in with the water. If you just start with cool tap water, it works just fine. And we're good to go here. You can see it's just kind of it almost looks like cream of wheat. So I'll go ahead and add my half cup of water plus the molasses and just start mixing that up again. We didn't need the scale at all for this process. I just had it out for something different. Now I'm going to bring my bowl of birdseed over and just add my liquid. Now is not the time to take a phone call, or you're going to come back and probably find this set up to where you can't work with it anymore. And I'm just going to use a plastic spoon to stir it up pretty well here. And I'm just working to ensure that every seed gets wet, that I don't have a lot of liquid on the bottom. With this amount of liquid, it's been really working out well for me to where the birdseed cakes don't have an accumulation of the gelatin and molasses, the bottom side of it after I pour it in the bowls. It doesn't harden up to the point where it's a brick, where the birds just can't pick the seed out. And it doesn't stay so mushy that it just sort of melts down in the birdseed cake cage that I have hanging outside. So I have worked with several different formulations, starting with 2 cups of water and 4 tablespoons of Knox gelatin, and that didn't work well at all. That just created a mushy mix that the birds would end up destroying in a matter of a couple of days, and then most of it would be on the ground. I then cut it down to about 1.5 cups of water, and I added an 1/8 cup of molasses, or maybe it was even 1/4 cup of molasses, and that was just way too much molasses, and that made for a very hard cake that the birdies had a very difficult time eating. And now, as you saw, I'm down to just a total of 1 cup of water, 1 tablespoon of molasses, and 2 tablespoons of Knox gelatin, and I am just really pleased how well these work. Shortly after I came up with this formulation and had a really new block out there in the cage for the birdies, we got 1.6 inches of rain in one day, and it had no effect on the cake whatsoever. The birds are able to consume these cakes right down to the very bitter end, with no trouble whatsoever. They're lasting, I don't know, a week or two, depending on how many birds I have working them at the time. It's working really well. So these are the containers I use to be the forms for my blocks. I'm going to switch to a ladle here. I know from experience that I get about 7 ladles per block, so I'm just going to mostly go for it. I'm going to be making 2 bird blocks out of this current mixture. I think that was 4. I'll stop at 6, 5, and 6-ish. This looks like a lot already in that one. You don't need to do any fancy presses or anything. Just kind of shake it so it's mostly level. Tap it down. You're going to get some of these stuck to your fingers in the sides, but not many if you're careful. And this one should be about ready to go. I'm going to set it aside and get my other form. I'm going to start measuring it out. And I'll count this time so I don't forget. That's 1, 2. Not that it matters much because I think the other one is just going to be what it is. 3. 4. 5. 6. 'And close to 7. Don't worry about being exact in any of these measurements, although it'll be pretty close on the 1 tablespoon of molasses and the 2 tablespoons of the dry gelatin. But you don't have to measure out exactly 10 cups of seed. It's kind of bucket chemistry. Sorry if I'm hiding your view there. Just going to set this aside. Kind of shake it and tap it down. And get my free-ranging seeds back down into the block. Some people use a press. I found absolutely no advantage to using a press. The only thing left to do now is to set these in a refrigerator. I'll just leave them in there overnight, although I expect within a few hours they're set up hard and ready to go. And tomorrow morning I'll just take them, I'll kind of press up on the bottom of the Ziplock container to kind of free it up, maybe kind of peel the sides away a little bit. And they just pop out without breaking, with hardly any seed coming loose from the block. I put them in a gallon Ziploc bag. Like I said before, I store them in the fridge, but you probably don't have to. I think they'd be fine in any sort of dry box. Store them in your house, protect them from ants, protect them from rodents, and they're good to go. Why did I start making these bird blocks in the first place, or why do I use bird blocks instead of just loose bird seed in some sort of feeder? Because the loose bird seed is so easily knocked to the ground from the feeder by the birds, by the mule deer that come by to feed on it. And then with all that seed on the ground, it provides feed for rodents such as mice, such as pack rats. And next thing you know, we have those rodents making homes in our vehicles, in the engine compartments, or one even got into the air conditioning system of my truck, which was really unfortunate. He built a little nest right on top of the interior cabin air filter, and that sucked. Another thing that happens, you get all the seed on the ground, and here in Arizona we tend to get javelina, and they started becoming used to the birdseed being there on the ground. It's not too big of a problem, but I don't really like feeding mammals. In fact, I don't like feeding mammals at all. Squirrels were a big problem. We tend to get rock squirrels here and the Arizona gray squirrel, and they would end up spilling a ton of seed on the ground. I've taken steps, as you saw it there, where I have the shield over the top of the wire bird cage feeder, and that helps keep the squirrels off. In fact, it's almost 100% effective, so I'm really pleased with that. They sure try, and they get on top of that shield and lay and try to concoct some way to get down to the birdseed cake, but they fail almost every time, and it's kind of amusing to watch. So this formulation, once again, has worked out just really well for me. I hope it works out really well for you. I didn't time how long it takes me to make those up, but as you saw, it was just a few minutes, and it's certainly much less time than I would spend going to the store to buy my own. And once again, it's about 1/8 of the cost of buying the prepackaged birdseed cakes. So let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions or this works out for you, and thanks for tuning in.